Welcome into Kane's Corner. I'm Matt Kane, ready for another exciting show. The Celtics and the Heat are in Game 7 tonight. The Oilers are playing the Avalanche in the NHL playoffs. We got the match, the golf match between Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. We have a lot to cover on today's show, but before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you like the video, and comment what you want to see next. I'm always willing to do rankings and tier lists and whatever you guys want to see on the show. I'd always be willing to do that, so just let me know either on Instagram or on here. And might as well we get started with today's show. I want to do something special each show. I would wear, instead of just a regular shirt, I'd be wearing one of my jerseys. I have way too many to count. So I thought I'd start with my favorite jersey, the most recent jersey that I've gotten, and that is a USA jersey, hockey jersey. It's been worn by Patrick Kane, I believe Austin Matthews, maybe Jack Eichel. But what I love about this jersey, it has no name on the back, but what I love about this jersey is, if you could see that, the gradient, or it looks like the Rocky Mountains kind of, and how the color changes from dark blue to lighter blue and then into white. I think it's so clean. It's a very clean jersey. And it's definitely probably my favorite one in terms of style. Of course, one of my favorite ones you'll probably see later. It's Aaron Rodgers. But I had to start today's show off with this jersey for the style, for the uniqueness. And since I got it last, it's the most recent jersey that I've gotten. So the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, the series is everything we hope for. You want to see a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs, and that's kind of what we got. What we got here. The Golden State Warriors, Dallas Mavericks, that lasted 5, a gentleman's sweep. But the Boston Celtics lost Game 6 to the Miami Heat. Very rough game. I was hearing there's a lot of referee issues. I personally wasn't able to watch it, but there's a lot of referee issues I hear. I did watch the end, the last 5 minutes. Boston tied the game up. Then Miami kind of got on that roll. But that game's going into Game 7. Going back to Miami later tonight. Very excited about that. I think it's going to be one to watch. It's a classic game between the Heat and the Celtics. I'm taking the Celtics, and I'll tell you why. The Boston Celtics are the better team. I know that for a fact. I can proudly say they're the better team. They're better than the Miami Heat. And I really hope the Heat don't win, because this will be a whole clown episode for me. But what I love about the Boston Celtics and what I think they have better is they have a better roster. I've said this multiple times. I don't believe the Miami Heat are anything without Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a star. He's a great player. Game 6, we saw what he can do. But other than that, I mean, Bam, when he's set up, he's good. Obviously he's a great defensive player. He's had a little rough plus minuses in the Heat losses this series. But Bam's a good player. I just don't think he could score unless he's getting set up. Kyle Lowry has struggled. He's been poor. He's been awful. The games that he's come back in. Last night, he had a redemption game. I will say that. But he played very poor this whole series. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they're giving you as much as they can from an undrafted player. I think, Eric Spoelstra is such a great coach that you don't think that these guys are undrafted. But at the end of the day, I think if they're thrown on a different team, they're not utilized as well as they are on the Heat. They're undrafted players. And when you have 2 undrafted players starting in your lineup, at least when Kyle Lowry was out, that's not a championship team to me. And I'm sorry, and I know it might be harsh, but listen, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they're great athletes. They're doing much better than I have, in my amateur basketball career, I guess you could say. But I don't think that's not a starting lineup for a championship team. They might be well coached, but I think I wouldn't look at it and say that's a starting lineup on a championship roster. But so that's what I don't like. Tyler Hero battling an injury. If he's out for a game 7, I'm not currently aware of his status for game 7 since it's just the day after game 6. But if he's not playing for that, I'm not even thinking about buying the Heat. The Heat can win it because if the Heat are hot, then I feel like Boston's going to struggle in stopping them. But I don't think the Heat are going to replicate what they did in Game 6. And that's just basically by watching this whole series. If you guys didn't watch this series, well, like Game 1, the Heat. Okay. Game 2, that was the Celtics, I believe. And then when the Heat are winning, they were winning big. They were doing really well, at least for the majority of the game. And then maybe the Celtics came back in the fourth quarter. But they were doing really well. But when the Heat were losing, they were losing. Like, they were getting blown out. There's been a lot of blowouts. So, and in a lot of those blowouts, Jimmy Butler wasn't playing well, and Jimmy Butler was battling an injury. So that's kind of where it just helps me with the Jimmy Butler is the only player on this team, and I still believe that. Listen. They're the 1 seed. They can totally do it, but I'm taking the Celtics. Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, I believe, is going to have a Game 7 huge game. But even if he doesn't, I mean, Marcus Smart is there. Jaylen Brown is there. Derek White is there. Al Horford, Robert Williams, if he's playing. I know he's been kind of wishy-washy this whole series with his injury, but I would expect him to play since it's Game 7. Listen, the Heat have a better coach, but the Boston Celtics have a better roster. They have a deeper roster, and I think that they're going to win this game. And when they go up to the Warriors, I'm going to stick with my prediction. Warriors in 6 over the Celtics. What I love about the Warriors are everything about their team. The coach, they have the best coach left in the playoffs, and I'll stick by that. I think Steve Kerr is a better coach than Eric Spoelstra. If you want a basic fact, a basic stat, well, Steve Kerr hasn't lost a Western Conference series. The only series is that he's lost in the playoffs were to the Cleveland Cavaliers in those championship games. I'm taking the Warriors. I'm taking Steve Kerr as the best coach. And with the team that the Warriors have, Steph Curry, of course, Steph isn't the vintage Steph that we know, but he's still a leader on that team. He's not a diva. He's not someone that needs the ball consistently. He doesn't need to shoot all the time, and I think that works with an NBA team. Klay Thompson's finally finding his step since his injury. Draymond Green is, of course, being a drama queen, but still playing great defense. Andrew Wiggins is looking like a number 1 pick that he once was. He's kind of getting that hype back up in his he was an all-star this year. So like Andrew Wiggins is playing like a number 1 pick. Jordan Poole, I've loved Poole. I've told you guys about that. He's had some ever since the Nuggets series, he hasn't been that great since then, but he's had some games where he looked really good. And regardless, he's a guy coming off the bench. He's a young player. He's learning from Steph and Klay. He's a shooter. He stinks at defense, but still they have defenders that can pick up where he's lacking. Jonathan Kuminga is one of those guys, great defender to have on the bench. But one guy who's really been the heartbeat, the unsung hero for the Golden State Warriors is Kevon Looney. Looney has picked up a lot of rebounds. He's actually gotten a lot of points for Kevon Looney, at least, in the Dallas Mavericks series. So I think the Warriors, they have everything I love. I've said that multiple weeks now. The Warriors are going to beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals. That is the Matt Kane prediction, and I'm sticking with it. I really hope, because this is honestly, for me, it's impressive that I got. Let's not pretend. Okay, my first bracket stunk. That was doo-doo. But like the way that I adjusted has been tremendous. I think my adjustments have been great. You saw with March Madness, I adjusted from Kentucky to Kansas. NBA playoffs, I adjusted from Suns. And then after I saw round one, I changed that quickly to Warriors over Celtics. NHL, I still have my Colorado Avalanche, who I predicted to win. They're still in it, and I really hope it happens. Because that'll be impressive for me. I will say that. As a guy who picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl, last year I think I predicted the Nets to win the NBA playoffs. I need a win here, and I think I can get one with the NHL playoffs, as the Colorado Avalanche are going into the Western Conference Finals. But guess who they're taking on? They're taking on the best player in the world right now, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. They kind of, I wouldn't say it was a Cinderella story for the Edmonton Oilers, because they've played great. But nobody really expected them, at least the people that I've talked to, nobody expected them to make it to the Western Conference Finals. My brother had them losing to the Calgary Flames, who he had winning. Mike Buetti had the Kings beating the Oilers. So I think it's an underdog here. We have an underdog in the Western Conference Finals, but they have star power. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, I think I saw a stat that they're combined for 52 points, I believe, in the first two series against the Kings and the Flames. That's like insane. So because they're tremendous and they have the star power, they can easily win this series. But I personally don't think the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, will take the Edmonton Oilers to the NHL Finals, the Stanley Cup Playoff Finals, because I think this is the year for Colorado to get this done. Colorado has a rough. They have free agents. Okay, I'll just say that. They have contracts that are expiring. Darcy Kemper is one of them, who's their goaltender that they're going to need to sign. So I think that this is their year to win it. Nazem Kadri is playing really well. Of course, Makar, Rantanen, Landeskog, he's the captain, so he's the leader. And then MacKinnon, Nathan MacKinnon is playing so tremendous that he had one of the best Stanley Cup playoff goals that I have seen, at least ever since Patrick Kane's game winner against the Philadelphia Flyers. It was incredible. I don't know how he did it. I truly think hockey athletes are one of the most skilled athletes that you in the world. I think Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, those guys are incredibly skilled. It takes a whole different it's a whole different aspect in hockey. They're on skates. They have to learn how to skate. They have to learn how to skate fast. It's not like you're born with legs so you can run. It's a whole different thing. As someone who has never skated before in their life, but I know that I would stink at it, I have a lot of respect for those guys. So, no clue how Nathan MacKinnon does it, but Nathan MacKinnon is a different animal. And with how well the Avalanche have played, they swept the Predators. They got up 3-1 against the St. Louis Blues. Based on how well they've played, I have to take them over at Connor McDavid. I think it would be great to have McDavid in the finals, at least for ratings aspect for the NHL. I think, he's kind of like the second coming of Wayne Gretzky, I guess. So it would be great to have him in the finals. I just don't think that they will be able to do it, especially because they don't have the strongest goaltender. And to be honest, they probably have the worst goalie left in the NHL playoffs. The Hurricanes and the Rangers, that's still going on, but still Shesterkin and at least Freddie Anderson is better. Maybe not Antti Ranta, but Freddie Anderson is better than Mike Smith. Darcy Kemper is better than Mike Smith. Andrei Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the NHL, so he's better than Mike Smith. So they have the weakest goaltender over in Edmonton, and I think that's going to show. I mean, they had a game where they let 9 goals in against the Flames, so I think the Colorado Avalanche are going to do what they do best, and that is going to be able to control these hockey games, score, and play efficient. And Colorado, I believe, will be heading into the finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. That is my new prediction, is Colorado versus Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't really care who wins the Rangers Hurricanes series. Whoever wins it, I think, is going to lose to Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay is just a whole different... They're a whole different team in the playoffs, and I don't know what it is. I truly don't. But I've said this last show. Tampa Bay is a whole different human being. It's actually insane. But I don't think they'll three-peat. I'll say that. I don't think they'll three-peat. I have Colorado beating Tampa Bay. That would be a great series, and I'd be really interested to watch it. So I mean, I hope it goes on, but at the same time, I don't, because Tampa Bay, it's ridiculous. It truly is. It's the Tom Brady. I guess it's the Tom Brady magic, because ever since Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, the city started winning. So, speaking of Tom Brady, him and Aaron Rodgers are going up against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the match. Incredible, I guess, match to watch. I won't talk about golf ever on this show. So I'm sorry if there's any golf fans out there. The only time I will is something like this that has to do with either NFL athletes, NHL athletes, NBA athletes. And this is something that I'm interested in, mostly because it's Aaron Rodgers. But still, I watched the match last year with Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau going against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. And that was a great match. I think Aaron Rodgers really was the savior of the team for the last few holes. Kind of that key decider in that win with Bryson. Hitting some great putts. You know, they had that rule where they had to play with one club. So I think he had an iron, but he played great. So I think, quick prediction, I think the Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are just going to brutally blow through Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I've never seen Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes play golf. The only thing I've seen is the video where they were chipping into their wide receiver's hands, and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers blew them out of the water. It was rough. I mean, you should watch that video. It was rough from Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So based on what I've seen there, and based on what I've seen previously with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, I think it's going to be a pretty easy match for the winners. The Super Bowl winners. I guess Patrick Mahomes has a Super Bowl under his belt, but the two Super Bowl winners, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to do just fine. That is my pick for that match, and I believe it's on Tuesday. It's going to be the 1st of June. So that will be a Wednesday. It's next Wednesday. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers will be crowned victorious at the same time, which I never thought I'd be saying. Let's go, boys. All right, to end this show off, I reached out on Instagram, I want to say a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and I asked for questions, with these top 10s, tier lists, rankings, what do you want me to do? And the Daily Dribble, great podcast. Make sure you subscribe to them. They reached out to me, and they said that they want a top 10 most exciting teams to watch in the NBA. I think it's a good one. I do. I'm going to cut it down to top 5 for the sake of the time. But I will say this. With these 5 NBA teams, A lot of them are star driven, and of course, fans want to see stars. They want to see stars. They want to go out. Want to see Giannis score 40 points. They want to see John Morant score 40 points. Luka Doncic, so on and so forth. So a lot of these are star driven, and I want to start out by saying that it's not mostly the best. It's not the best teams. A lot of them have winning records. I think they all did this past year, but they're not the best of the best teams. They're not the teams that work the best, like the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns this past season. They're not in this top 5. But might as well I start this list off with number 5. Number 5, I had to include them. They're the team I watch the most because I'm a fan of theirs. That's the Philadelphia 76ers. The reason why I had to put them in here is because, I watch the most games, so I should be excited to watch them. But regardless, watching Joel Embiid play is an incredible experience. I'll never forget the game Tyrese Maxey went off against the Toronto Raptors. Same with James Harden against the Heat. That second half was the second half was a chef's kiss. Let's not talk about any other James Harden games. But the 76ers are 5th on my list. Number 4, this one was difficult because I kind of had to cut one team to go under the Sixers and miss the top 5. But with number 4, I picked the Milwaukee Bucks. Like I said, Giannis. To start that off, of course, being a Packers fan, I have some type of link to the Milwaukee Bucks. Aaron Rodgers is the owner. David Bakhtiari loves to chug beers. Robert Tonyan went to the games. Matt LaFleur, so on and so forth. So I guess I have some type of tie to them. But what I love about the Milwaukee Bucks is Giannis. I loved watching Grayson, actually. Grayson Allen, a guy I believe in Grayson Allen. I'll say that. So I loved watching him this past playoffs. Chris Middleton. Bobby Portis, watching him was great this playoffs. And what really makes me think about the most exciting Bucks game that I've watched is when they played the Nets last year. When they defeated them, that was a classic game. Which moves me to number 3. Number 3, I have the Brooklyn Nets. This year it was kind of lousy. Kyrie wouldn't get vaccinated, so he didn't play in the home games in New York. So it was kind of like Kevin Durant and a James Harden who didn't want to be there, or a Ben Simmons who didn't play. So it was a lousy this year, but last year was so fun to watch. It was so fun to watch the Brooklyn Nets, and same with the Bucks. It brings me back to game. What was it? Game 6? Was it game 6 or 7? But anyway, Kevin Durant literally this close to winning the game, probably. So with Kevin being there, it's always going to be a fun team to watch. Number 2, I have the Dallas Mavericks. This shouldn't be a shocker to anyone who knows me. I'm a huge fan of Luka Doncic. He is my favorite player in the NBA. It's not Joel Embiid. If no one knew that, actually, Luka Doncic is my favorite player in the NBA, not Joel Embiid. And I have my reasonings for that, but I'm not going to get into it. Luka is a phenomenal player. He's the king. I've said this multiple times. But what I love about the Mavericks is Luka. So on. It's just plain and simple, Luka. And finally, number 1, the most exciting team to watch in the NBA, in my opinion, is the Golden State Warriors. Now, the reason why I love the Golden State Warriors is three-pointers. I'm a huge fan of three-pointers. Just watching them go down, shooting them myself. Ever since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was shoot threes, and that's it. I would practice shooting threes probably more than I would practice doing layups, shooting jumpers, inside, free throws, whatever. And that makes sense to a lot of my friends because they know I can hit a half-court shot, but I can't hit a layup. Plain and simple. So just watching Steph Curry all my life, I've loved it. There was a time when I hated the Warriors. Of course, everyone did. When KD went to the Warriors, I hated it. But I learned to love how they play basketball and how they're run by Steve Kerr and the three-pointers and Jordan Poole now existing. I love watching them. I said this multiple times. They're the team that I believe I have everything that I love with the Golden State Warriors. So the Warriors have to be the most exciting team to watch. And they've been at the number one spot for the past 4, 5, 6 years, ever since the dynasty ever started. So Golden State leads in the most exciting teams to watch. Daily Dribble, I appreciate you guys sending that question. It's a great question. Guys, if you'd love to send a question, love to get a top 10 out, make sure you send me a DM, comment below. I'll probably do one of these maybe next week, see if I get any interest. If I don't, won't do it. If I do, I will do it. So I appreciate Daily Dribble, and if anyone wants to send me a message, feel free to. But that is going to end today's show. We covered a lot. Game 7, the Heat, yeah, screw the Lakers. Heat, Celtics, Oilers, Avs, NHL playoffs, the match, and top 5 most exciting teams to watch in the NBA. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I appreciate all the support. The Instagram Reels are actually going insane. I've been loving it. Make sure you subscribe here and then follow on Instagram. That'll be Kane's Korner Sports. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.